All right, welcome to our Hockey Cast. Toddler Tuesdays now on Wednesdays.
We're not Toddler Tuesdays anymore. We gotta
We
fix
are
that.
not Toddler Tuesdays anymore. That is correct.
We just started and you already managed to screw it up.
No, I know that we're on
No,
Toddler
no.
Tuesdays on Wednesdays.
Okay.
But before we get any further into the semantics of our names, because we're gonna change that soon. With you today is John,
Yeah.
at Johnny_Mulcahey on Twitter, and Hamzah at LaFonH on Twitter. All right, we're back. We are back.
It's so
New
exciting.
season. Both hockey and, our podcast here.
Carter's not here. He should be here, but he's not. Maybe he'll be joining us later.
It could be. Okay, so a couple of orders of business before we actually start the proper part of the podcast, because we got to do these housekeeping things when you start up. I'm told. If you have any questions, comments for us, you can either ask us here on the podcast page itself or on Twitter at OurHockeyCast. We tweet a lot. Not really. But
Well, I tweet
tweet us your questions, tweet us your comments. Johnny, anything you got to add to that?
Shout out to the 5th floor of UMass Lowell's Fox Hall, because they're all watching it right now.
All right.
That's about all I got.
Guys, because you're watching this, I expect questions from you guys. I really do.
Or they're gonna bang on my door. One or the other.
Okay, so today, our topics for today. Johnny, want to run us through it?
Oh, so we're gonna be talking about so far the preseason games that have happened. The off-season moves, since we weren't here all off-season, we died, and now we're back. And we're gonna talk about the outlook for the current season. So like injuries that have already happened and certain teams that we think will dominate the league this year. Bruins.
I wish I could have such confidence in my team, but we're 0-2 in the preseason, and although the preseason isn't really that big a deal, we lost the Islanders twice. So
what do you mean you lost? You lost to the Islanders twice?
We were the only team in NHL history who has gone 0-2 on the same day to the New York Islanders 2 years in a row. So we have that record. We also changed captains 2 years in a row too. So I mean, maybe that's not the best record to have.
It's already begun.
All right.
Shout out to @dbens12. John is so sexy. Thank you.
Oh man. How many minutes are we in already? I think we're in like barely
We're
5.
in 2 minutes, and this is like the third time on this podcast. Not today specifically, but why is it every time somebody decides to mess with us, they go for me?
To be fair,
I'm such an easy target.
People don't really say that about me much because I'm.
When does it start?
What? Okay. Oh, okay. I guess we should move on to actual things happening tonight.
Can we please?
Into our topics for today. So we've got a couple preseason games going around the league, a couple of split squad games actually. So starting up.
They've already done a couple.
What's that?
The Ducks have already done a split team game.
Yes. So
Danny
Arizona
Hughes
and Calgary are
scored 40
playing right
seconds
now.
into
They're
the
about
game.
10 minutes into the first.
What are you talking about tonight?
Arizona's up 1-0 over Calgary.
Right now?
Carolina and the Isles are playing also. They're about 4-10 first. 1-0 for Carolina over New York. Washington, Boston, 0-0 in that one. Dallas and Florida are about to go live. Ottawa, Toronto are about to go live. And we will see. So that's what's going on in the NHL tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, speaking of preseason, and I think the first thing we notice when we talk about preseason this year are the ridiculous amount of injuries happening.
Datsyuk's got a separated shoulder. Jordan Stahl broke his leg.
Yes. Jonathan Drouin, his injury there. Giroux, Crosby. There's so many injuries going on.
Malkin too, I believe.
Malkin. So it's been generally a very bad preseason for injuries.
Pasternak's hurt, the soon-to-be captain of obviously this team.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on that actually as the season moves into?
Pasternak? I mean, He's gonna score an infinite amount of goals this year anyway. So
Oh.
worst case scenario is it hurts the team a little bit, but I'm more focused on us signing Krug and Riley Smith.
So
that's my focus.
So Krug and Riley Smith, actually, and that's another thing happening on this year. We're seeing a lot of people not necessarily holding out, because a holdout is usually means when they already have a contract and they refuse to play for it. We're seeing a lot more time being taken with these contracts and a lot more negotiations going on. But that's pretty around the league. There's quite a few things happening. I mean, Ottawa has their documented problems, but Columbus is a major one. Boston has a couple, of course, as you mentioned. Earlier, Montreal with Subban and their players had a bit of a discussion going there. And there's a few others throughout the league, but what are your thoughts on that? Because it seems like more and more people want to get paid, which you can't really blame them for. But it's happening. It's becoming more and more obvious, or more. I shouldn't say obvious. I should say more apparent that players are looking for these deals, and the owners and managers are playing a little bit more of a hardball on them.
I think it starts with the GMs and the organizations that are going to be paying people that don't deserve a certain amount of money. So it's like we're talking about the Luongo contract a few years ago in Vancouver. The ridiculous contract for Tuukka Rask that was signed a couple years ago as well. It's insane how, like, obviously they're star players, but, like, you can't dump so much money on one player because it screws you 3 years down the road when you desperately need to sign younger guys and you don't have any cap space, a.k.a. the Bruins and the Blackhawks, who I don't believe are screwed just yet. But, I mean, we're looking at teams like Philadelphia, who if I remember correctly, actually had to get rid of players so that they were under the cap. And the Bruins last year faced the salary cap penalty because they were over it. So it's insane the amount of contracts, because you see these star players in one organization such as Vancouver or Boston that are going to pay one player like 11 for an 11-year contract. You're going to get a young defenseman like PK Subban, say, who's going to be looking for a ridiculous contract, and it's a different organization. It's a different beast. Like,
but I mean,
the Montreal Canadiens didn't want to give him that amount of money, and there was a whole ordeal about it. Like, we knew he was going to sign with the Canadiens. There was no chance he wasn't.
But I think the problem we're talking about here is less that players are trying to get paid, because let's be real here. If one of your peers who you know is worse than you, and is much worse than you, gets such a large payout, you're going to look at them and you're going to say, well, hey, wait a minute. I'm much, much better than that guy. I deserve more money, or at the very least, the same amount of money that they have right now. And to say that the players are greedy or selfish or something like that, I think is a little bit disingenuous. I think instead, like to your earlier point where you said that the owners and the management are the ones that are at fault here, I would agree with that more than the players are at fault. Simply because...
No, I don't think the players are at fault. I'm saying it's certain GMs that are willing to pay this amount of money to turn around and screw themselves years down the road. It messes up the entire NHL, because then you're saying to these younger players, certain organizations will be willing to pay you a ridiculous amount of money, and it may not be the organization that they want. It may not be the amount of money that they want for their organization. It puts the image in younger players' heads that, hey, I can make $11 million in X amount of years. And I want to say it's not fair to the younger players, but it stems from the GMs.
I would agree with that. I think obviously the most obvious one is Ryan Johansson in Columbus, simply because obviously the optics of that and how he's really the highest unrestricted free agent, or the best restricted free agent that's in the market. That's clearly not signed, so the most talented of them. So he's obviously and a driving cog of the Blue Jackets offense. So I think he's obviously the most apparent one. But I look at him and say, yeah, okay, that's possible. But how can you as, and I'm talking more about the agents here, because the agents and management, not the player, but the agents and the management, they're having like this almost this cold war in negotiation where they're leaking numbers to the media, and they, or the agent in this case, is making himself a name. How do you feel about that?
I'm sorry. I'm getting flooded with stupid tweets right now. I'm sorry. This is what happens when you let it slip that you're doing a podcast, children. Learn from my mistakes.
I am going to be of zero help to you because I'm going to find this incessantly hilarious all night long.
They're at my fucking door right now. Why is it always me? Alright, well, can either you repeat the question or should I move on to like tweets that are pertinent to what we're talking about?
Well, I'll just go over the question. I'll just go over the question quickly, and then we'll move on there, because I kind of want to hear your opinion on this one.
All right.
I was talking about the agents that are dealing with like the players' agents and how they're leaking news or numbers to the media, and how you feel about that. So it sort of makes that atmosphere.
Yeah, because it involves everyone. Because at that point, when the agent starts tweeting out that Torrey Krug's looking for $2 million per year, I probably just made that up, but like when that sort of stuff happens, it gets everyone involved, and then suddenly, if a deal isn't made for that, everyone's eyes are on the GM or on the player, and it becomes a blaming game where you're looking at one party or the other for reasoning to why this contract wasn't made, and it's like, well, that wasn't the deal that we came to, and then someone looks like the bad guy. Where like, I'm going to use Boston as an example again. Krug and Smith have not been signed yet, but because they're rookies, they have to be signed in order to play. And so it looks like if they're going to play, they're going to have to play for a contract that is well undervalued for them. And so when that kind of information gets thrown out there, and the fact that they're not going to get paid as much as they want, then there's just animosity between the fans, the GM, and the players. Because then you have the GMs trying to place blame on the players because they don't want the fans to be mad at them. They'd rather the fans be mad at the players because the players can be replaceable. The GMs, however, once they lose their job, it doesn't look like they're going to come back or go anywhere else.
I see what you mean. All right. Okay, so we'll move on to questions from Twitter.
Related tweets?
Related tweets. Oh, you could throw in a couple of unrelated ones if you want.
No, because I read them, and I feel very sorry for the person that has to use this account next. So we asked the audience, or I did, literally just before we started, who you think is God, I can't talk. Who you think will come out on top this year in the NHL, whether it's regular season or the Stanley Cup? And the at LWOS Dave Gov said the Kings, of course. Pace Farm at Peak of Good Living. The Canes will come out on top of the draft. They're going to have to beat out Buffalo and Florida and a couple other teams to do that, actually.
Well, yeah.
Because, I mean, the NHL just seems so stacked right now, where you've either got teams that look really, really good, a.k.a. the Central Division, which looks like a complete war zone right now. Aside from, I'm trying to think, who's that bad team in the Central Division?
Well, you've got in the Central.
Chicago, Dallas. I actually can't think of any other teams.
Well, you've got Chicago, the Colorado Avalanche, Dallas Stars, Minnesota Wild, Nashville, St. Louis, and Winnipeg.
Oh, Winnipeg. That's the team I was thinking of.
Well, I'm thinking actually in that Central, I'm thinking two teams are actually pretty weak, and I know a couple will disagree with me, but Nashville I don't think can stack up.
I don't think they have enough. I mean, they have James Neal and his weaponized knee, but I don't think that's enough.
But I mean,
go on.
I like Nashville's defense because Nashville has had one of the better defenses in the league for a long time.
And because Shea Weber.
Yeah, because of Shea Weber, essentially. And while they still have I still think they have a great defense, and they have good goaltending. I mean, when Pekka Rinne is your goaltender, you know what? You're still up there in terms of league talent. Mm-hmm. But no matter how good your defense is, if you're in a division with the Chicago Blackhawks, with Jonathan Toews,
the Blackhawks are not that good. Let's take a step back because I know where you're going with this. They are a good team, but they're not I wouldn't say they're the best team. I think.
Oh no, I don't. Whether they're the best team or not, that's not for me. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Nashville in that particular division with
will not be
players
able to stand
like
up to teams like
Toews
that.
and Kane, and then you've got Dallas with Spezza, Hemsky, Ben, Seguin. You know, you've got all these players.
Who? Wait, who was that last one?
Tyler Seguin for your counterparts. You've got the Avalanche.
Minnesota and Avalanche both have insane amounts of speed.
Yeah.
Coming into the season, and it's ridiculous, and not in a bad way, but like certainly against defensive teams such as the Bruins, Nashville, who else? LA is a pretty defensive team, I think. Against teams like that, they're going to be lethal.
I would agree with that. I'm thinking here's the thing. Defense is great, and defense can win you championships. But you have to get to that championship first before you can win it. Nashville just doesn't have the offensive power to win the games in their division that they need to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. Yeah. At least I don't think so.
All right, let me blow through the rest of these responses just so I can say that I'm done with them. Patrick at the Getaway Plan 9. The Kings will repeat. No team can compete. The Hawks will croak, and the Sharks will choke. The Bruins still suck, and as always, fuck the Ducks.
I think it deserves applause just for the poetry of it.
Yes, it was beautiful.
I don't agree with any of it, but it deserves applause.
Yeah, I know. Personally, the only thing I can agree with is that the Sharks will choke because, well, they always choke. Unrelated tweets. Oh, this one's interesting. Read my tweets or I swear to God I'll walk into your room naked. That's interesting.
Who's that from?
Dan Benvey at dbens12. That would be one of the more immature members of my floor. Although he did ask an interesting question. Who'd win in a fight, Chara or Matt Cook? I'm leaving this one up to you.
Okay, just so we get out there, in case you guys have forgotten or are new,
Chara's
I'm
the
what you would
biggest
call
fucking
a
dude
diehard
in the
Senators fan.
Die hard, more like die easy.
Hey, who's the host here?
You lost Alfie and then Spezza. It's only a matter of time before you lose Carlson.
I swear to God, you say that one more time, I will do nothing because I'm across the country from you.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know where you are, so.
No, but I mean, yeah. So like I said, I'm a huge fan of Erik Karlsson. So everything I say about Matt Cook is biased. That said, Matt Cook.
I forgot about the Karlsson thing.
Torres.
Literally
Ilya
Satan himself.
And Chara did play for the Seds at one point. So yes, I think Chara would win in a fight between Chara and Cook.
You think Chara would win? I think, just speaking from personal experience, I've seen that Chara is not a good fighter.
Yeah, but he's just so much bigger.
I'd probably say that Chara would fall on top of Cook and possibly crush his little baby neck. I hope. Fingers crossed. course, it's probably bad luck for me. So there we go. Chara would win, possibly. Will we see it?
Only through the strength of my hatred.
We probably won't see it. It won't happen, but, you know.
Okay, any other questions so we can...
Harrison Laverty asks, would you agree with the Devils beating the Bruins?
If we were still in 99?
Well, you said it, not me.
I
mean, I don't know. I went to one Bruins game last season, and it was against the Devils, and we lost in overtime, so...
I mean, anything is theoretically possible, but... Yeah, I mean, if we're talking realistically, the likelihood of the Devils winning over the Bruins is much lower.
I think the only chance the Devils have at beating the Bruins is in the draft, and at chances of getting Connor McDavid. That's about it. And he's probably going to try to kill me after me saying that, so... John DeLeon says the San Jose Sharks will take the cup this year for sure. I wouldn't be too sure of that. They don't even have a captain right now.
No, there are 23 captains. 23 captains, John.
That does not mean that they have 23 captains. It means they don't have a captain.
Yeah, I know. Oh, okay. Anything else?
No. I'm just being asked what all the banging is, and it's them banging at my door.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen.
This is what happens when you open your mouth and you say words. Bad things happen to you.
I wish I could have more sympathy, but I just don't.
You don't, because you're an asshole. If Nando was here, he would feel bad. They're coming again. I can hear them from down the hall. Oh my god. Why does this always happen to me?
I'm not sure, to be quite honest. So, actually, just to clarify, the reason why we have these shenanigans this part of the year instead of last year
is because college just started.
Yes, we all entered college for the first time.
Can we talk about college hockey? That'll be interesting.
Yeah, we can. Absolutely. Go for it.
Wait, where do you go? I actually don't know what school you go to.
Carleton University in Ottawa. We are better than the GGs, whatever a GG is.
I don't know what that is either. So I guess I'm the only relevant school with a good hockey team?
Yeah, we have the CIS league here. And while I am desperately proud of my team and my school, no, we do not have the same level of hockey as college hockey in the States.
Yes, because... The fuck? I'm sorry, this wasn't even like them banging on my door. There's just a really loud amount of yelling. For whatever reason. So, yeah, for those that don't know, that are listening, I go to UMass Lowell, twice, back-to-back Hockey East champs. So, yeah, hashtag bleed blue, I guess. Yeah, it's about all I can say. Our two best players last year went pro, and Connor Hellebuyck, I think his first name's Connor, I only remember the last name actually, and I didn't remember to look it up before we started, but he's playing for the Jets as of right now, so I don't know if he's backing up. Or...
Actually, just before we go any further, on the subject of college hockey, or any other leagues, our hockey cast is looking for writers and people who are willing to talk on the subject of college hockey, the AHL, and other developmental leagues or leagues overseas. So we're talking about the KHL or the AIHL, any of them.
Yeah, I was actually, before we started this, I was down in the dining hall eating, and someone on my floor is on the club hockey team for what that's worth, and I could probably, college students are, big on publicity, so I'm sure that I can find someone on the varsity team that wants to be on the team. Did you hear that?
Yes. They are indeed college students.
My door's not even open. Jesus Christ. Why can I hear them?
All right, so we've got I think we've got 3 more topics to cover, and as
Yeah,
you can see,
the
they
3
take a long
actual
time to
topics
cover.
that we wanted to talk about. We still haven't discussed any of the preseason games. Danny here scored 48 seconds into the fucking game. He's scoring 50 this year. Bet your ass. I'll eat my hat if he doesn't.
Guys, remember that.
Don't hold me on that.
Oh, too bad.
Because I know you will just to see me eat a hat, and that's weird. That's weird.
That'd be so funny.
I feel like they're gonna come again. Oh.
All right, so what are the next subjects to come up with? And guys, remember, if you've got questions, send them to us here, either here on the
relevant questions.
Relevant questions
about hockey.
You guys can send irrelevant questions. We'll just
because I'm not gonna read them.
We're, like I said, we'll just ignore them. Or on Twitter at our hockeycast.
Most of the unrelated ones have been wildly inappropriate. Mostly targeted about me.
That is just, you don't know how hilarious I find that.
So I apologize to whichever Dave is going to be using this account next.
Oh, you should see that Twitter account after one time when I was running one of the other podcasts. It was not fun. It was not fun.
Couldn't be worse than the Muffins one. Anything you wanted to talk about? No?
Actually, yes, before we move on.
Thank God.
On NHL topics. How should I put this?
Any way you want, just say something.
There's a bit of a trend recently with especially the advanced statistics, and I want to talk about that a little bit because this summer, as people who've been watching hockey news in the off season have noticed, there's been a huge wave of NHL teams hiring statisticians. Oh God, that's one of those words I can't pronounce. But anyway, hiring those hashtag fancy stats people.
Fancy stats.
Fancy stats. And with that, there's been a huge movement within the crowd, both for or against advanced statistics, about what this means. And on the one side, with the people who are proponents of advanced statistics, and I'm not talking about the great ones, like you've got Steve Dangle, or Jeffler, or any of these guys, the ones who...
I actually know nothing about this, so I'm going to let you go on.
Yeah, but anyway, these guys, when they comment about these games, and Travis Yost, all these guys, Tyler Dello, who was hired by the Edmonton Oilers, and others, not one of them, the real ones, have commented that numbers are the only thing you need. Not one of them. If you were to ask them, they would tell you, no, you need to take the numbers in concert with the game that you're watching. They're used so those numbers are just so you have a better idea of what's going on, of what you're seeing on the ice. The issue I have with that is, not with them, but with the general populace, is a lot of people are saying, oh, you don't watch the games if you care about numbers. Or, oh, you don't, you're so in the old guard of using your eyes and intuition. Or gut, right? I think as neutral fans, not neutral, but as fans of the game, we need to look at those statistics and not necessarily use them. Because those statistics, they're not a be-all, end-all. They're not going to tell you everything that's going on the ice. People need to stop throwing those words around and realize that the players don't need to care about them, because you don't go onto the ice and think, oh, how am I going to improve my Corsi, or how am I going to improve my Fenwick numbers? You know, you go out there and you play. And a player doesn't have running through his head numbers when he gets on the ice, because it makes no sense. He has to react to he or she has to react to what they're seeing on the ice.
Right. The situation's way more important than how can I improve a certain stat. I mean, you can certainly try to change up your play style a little bit, but you're always going to revert back to how you play naturally, and it's if you're naturally a good coursey guy, you're going to continue to do that whether you think about it or not.
Exactly. Like, it's the same thing with video. We don't have a huge outcry that people are watching video and it's like, oh, you know what? Players need to know about this. Yeah, sure, players watch video and they know about it, but they don't go out on the ice and they look at it like an iPad as they're skating around, saying, "Oh, I'm analyzing this part of what's going on with my opponent." We don't do that.
Right.
People need to realize that advanced statistics are not meant for players necessarily. Sure, they can know about them, or they can learn about them, or they can deal with them, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it's more for the management, the coaches. It's just another tool in their toolbox to see what's going on the ice so they can coach or manage better.
Right. It's more of a coaching tool than anything.
Exactly.
Has absolutely no use to anybody but the coach or the GM who's signing a contract. That's about it.
Yeah. So you can look at that, and as fans, you can look at it and say, "Oh, that's what my team is doing in this particular instance," or,
they're coming again. You know what the funny thing is?
What?
I just checked Snapchat. They have this hooked up to the big screen TV in the common room, and what seems like the entire floor is sitting there listening to it. They're all there. It is. We're only halfway through this. I'm gonna die of embarrassment.
It's really a great thing that I am the most arrogant person you will ever meet, because otherwise I'm pretty sure I'd be just as terrified as you are.
You're arrogant, but I'm willing to bet that literally anybody could skate circles around you.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
I said you suck at hockey. That's what I said.
I understood what you said. I just couldn't believe you actually said it.
Yeah. No, you know me. I talk shit about myself more than anybody. We've discussed this before.
This is true. All right, so we've covered. So just a quick recap of what we've done so far. We have talked about the floor mates of John.
Yep. And we'll probably continue to.
So there is that. But we've also covered things like the injuries. We've covered preseason play. Oh, just a quick update. Toronto, the split squad team that's playing in Toronto, is up 1-0 over the Ottawa Senators.
Hold on. I'm afraid that they're going to yell. I'm not entirely sure. Wait. Oh, they're gone. That was short-lived.
I feel like you just jinxed it.
I did. Now that I've said it was short-lived, they're going to come back. They'll be back in greater numbers.
Oh.
Now that I said that, they're definitely going to do that.
I will force you if that ever happens.
You will what?
I'll mute you, because I have power to mute everybody in this chat room right now.
Yeah, I can do that to myself, but I don't know how long it's going to go on, or maybe I have something important to say. For once.
I'm just saying while people are yelling in the background.
Yeah.
So for some reason, Hangouts is being a little bit irritating. Our Q&A feature is disabled. So
thank God.
If you want to contact us, you're gonna have to use the tweet at OurHockeyCast, or you could tweet at either of us. We'll read it.
Actually, I haven't checked my Twitter.
Okay, you could tweet.
Probably do that.
Somehow know my Twitter account, but
I mean, you did say it at the beginning, so
Does anybody actually remember anything anybody says at the beginning of a podcast?
People listen to the beginning of any podcast?
I usually just skip the first part and start listening about halfway through.
That's true.
Okay, so I think we should cover some predictions for the season.
I'm telling you, it's going to be the Jets and the Sabres. And the Jets are taking it in 6.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right. Jets in 6 over the Sabres for the Stanley Cup.
That's my prediction, and I wasn't drunk. I swear to God, completely unironic prediction.
If that happens, if that actually happens,
God, I'd be a millionaire.
I would buy a whole cake and eat it. Maybe a cheesecake, because I like cheesecake. But
This one's
I'm not giving you a
interesting.
hat. I'm not promising that.
Well, I promised it and I didn't mean it, but Dan Benvey tweets at our hockeycast. That's it. That's all it said.
Who'd won the Brandon Wheat Kings or the Bruins?
So one of the kids on my floor is in love with the Brandon Wheat Kings, and he can, I guess, dominate just about every team in a game of Chell with the Brandon Wheat Kings.
Huh.
I don't know. I'd have to say the Bruins, but Brandon.
I think the Brandon Wheat Kings can't even beat the Edmonton Oil Kings.
Oh, shit! It's been said.
So.
Cake delivery!
What?
What was that?
I don't know. I was told cake delivery, but we're not in Minnesota, so.
Yeah, we're not cake eaters. At least I'm not a cake eater.
Don't look at me.
All right. So, what are our last two topics there?
We were gonna just give a general overview on how we think certain teams will do.
That's right.
During the season, and let me see what else. Preseason injuries, outlook of the season for most of the teams, but it looks like we have enough time to do all of the teams, and just the preseason overview on how certain teams look so far.
Okay, I'm gonna name the teams off in alphabetical order.
Or we could
30 seconds. You give me your thoughts on each of them. All right.
wait for preseason and then.
Your thoughts in general on both on the teams. It doesn't matter. It does, as long as it's pertinent to this season, whether preseason, regular season, or postseason. Doesn't matter.
Okay, and then.
Ready?
Okay, no. I'll go for 30 seconds, and then you go for 30 seconds.
Oh no, I'm just gonna read each team off, and you give me your thoughts, and then you can do the same to me.
Oh, okay. So.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Anaheim Ducks.
Ducks they have heater. What else? What else do you need? They have well, no, that's true. They have a goaltending issue. That's what I have to think about them. Is
Okay.
They've got plenty of offense and defense, but goaltending they're lacking.
All right, Arizona.
They look like a decent team this year.
Fair enough. Boston.
Please just sign Krug and Smith. And I also heard that Boychuk's leaving. Will probably be traded, so there's that.
Buffalo.
Next.
Well, you had them losing in 6 in the Stanley Cup Finals, so I mean,
Next
they can't
question.
be that bad.
Yeah, that was ironic. That was a joke.
I think we can just say Buffalo and leave it at that. Calgary.
Calgary. I have no idea.
Okay.
I have
Carolina.
no idea about that. Carolina. They need more stalls. Maybe.
Well, and less broken stalls. Less broken stalls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they only have one broken stall. They still need the. I can't keep track of all the stalls. There's one on the Rangers still, right?
Yeah, that's Mark Stahl.
Yep. They need Mark Stahl. They need more D. And
All right.
yeah.
Chicago.
Is a member of the Central Division War Zone. And
Fair enough.
I don't know what the hell is going to come out of that division.
Colorado.
They have Iggy, our dearest Iggy, and they have a fuck ton of speed.
Columbus.
They run a decent system, and yeah, that's about it. They run a good system, and they made the playoffs this year, and I expect them to make it to at least the second round this season.
All right, Dallas.
Perhaps going to do better than the Ducks this year because they have everything the Ducks do, and goaltending.
All right, Red Wings.
I think they're having an age issue, and Datsuk's hurt right now, and I'd like to see how that's going to affect them long term.
Okay. Edmonton.
Next question.
Florida.
Next question. Wait,
Los
no.
Angeles.
Florida actually has Sean Thornton, so I'm interested in seeing how funny their games are going to be this season.
Fair enough. Los Angeles.
I think that it's going to be tough to beat them because they're the defending champs. They didn't lose anybody, I believe, this offseason. So
Nobody major, if anybody left. Minnesota.
Minnesota, I think, is going to do a lot better this season as well because they have, as long as they can keep their goaltending on track, because I know that there's already issues in the locker room. If they can all get along and be nice to each other, then maybe I think they'll do better than they did last season. But you know what I think about the locker room issue?
Yep.
I think Danny fucking Heatley was keeping them on check. I think he was keeping them organized.
That is the first and last time I've heard that. Montreal Canadiens.
Fuck the Habs.
Always acceptable. Nashville Predators.
They need more offense than James Neal. It's not going to be enough.
New Jersey Devils.
I got nothing to say about the Devils. I don't think that they have Schneider, so at least they won't be running. They won't be running a system where they can just depend on Brodeur. They can actually sort of rely on Schneider because I think he's better than Brodeur was this past season. But I think they need more offense and a defensive system that works and actually tries to play defense.
All right. The New York Islanders.
I have heard nothing of the Islanders this past offseason.
All right. Rangers.
The Rangers. They have Marty St. Louis. Lundqvist is getting old. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Ottawa Senators. Don't
what? I think Carlson's gone after this season.
I will. You know what? I know where you live.
No, you don't.
Don't actually know where you live.
Which is exactly why I said that.
But I can find out. I'm pretty sure.
Ottawa needs more offense.
Okay. Philadelphia.
Does Philadelphia still exist?
Yes.
Ah, they do. I guess that they're making the playoffs like they usually do.
All right.
That's about all I can say. Pittsburgh needs a healthy Crosby and Malkin if they want to do anything this season because, let's face it, the Penguins are nothing without the two of them.
Sharks.
The Sharks are going to choke in the second or third round of the playoffs. If they make the playoffs.
St. Louis?
I think St. Louis is screwed this year because of goaltending.
Tampa Bay?
Tampa, I think, if Ben Bishop stays healthy, I think they can make the playoffs and maybe perform in them and not just get swept in the first round.
All right. Maple Leafs?
The Phil is looking good this season, I guess.
Canucks?
The Canucks have Miller, and that's about it.
Okay.
Washington?
Washington?
That's the only thing that's new. Washington is going to be so focused on the Winter Classic that they'll completely forget about the playoffs. Because it's Washington. I don't know.
Suppose. And finally, Winnipeg Jets.
They're taking the cup this year. Absolutely.
Right.
No, I think that they're going to be one of the 4 teams in strong running for dishonor for Connor McDavid.
Okay.
They're gonna need to play like shit so that they can get some more offense and possibly defense. Does Winnipeg have any assets?
Well, they've got Evander Kane.
Who's arguably better than most people in the Central Division, but he's not. He's all they have, and he's not a superstar. I'd say he's not a huge superstar. He's not someone that's going to be a complete game changer.
I can agree with you to a certain point. All right, fair enough.
But that's just because I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but
He's still fairly young, 20s. He's not old.
All right. Well, I'd say that if he doesn't start playing his best hockey that he's ever played, then the Jets are going to be screwed for a long time.
Alrighty.
Your turn.
Yeah, go for it.
Anaheim.
Lot of change. Not sure it's gonna do much. I mean, they added obviously Heatley, but yeah, the whole outcry with Tiamu Sanane, you've got with Bruce Boudreau there. Not sure it's gonna wash away like that.
Okay. Arizona.
Arizona, I think they're a little bit weak in terms of offense. They let go Radim Verbata, and while they did add Simon Gagne, they obviously Ribeiro was cut from the team. So can they score?
Wait, Ribeiro was cut?
Well, no, he was bought out, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right. Boston.
Boston, a tough team to play against, especially because they're so defensively sound. Can they keep it up with Chara getting older? I'm not sure. Count on them to have even scoring throughout the lines.
I want Chara off the team personally.
I still think Chara's a great player. I think he still has a lot to contribute. He's just getting a lot older. But yeah, I think Boston makes the playoffs.
Okay.
Buffalo's going to come in dead last in the league. It's not
Again?
gonna be close.
Oh no, Florida came. No, was it?
No, Buffalo was last by something like 20-something points. They were dead last by a huge margin. Can they they'll get a little bit better because they've improved their roster slightly, but I still think they're going to be dead last.
Okay. Next up, I'm just going to start throwing random teams because I don't have an organizational list, nor do I have the time or effort to actually decide on a team. Detroit.
Detroit's getting old. They have tons of injuries. Yeah, I see them maybe making the playoffs, but maybe not. They're gonna be on the cusp there. They're a borderline team. If they stay healthy, Detroit will get in by the skin of their teeth, but they're getting too old.
Okay. Florida.
Florida, I'm gonna say second last. They haven't improved that much, and they threw out that terrible contract to Boland. Luongo's going to see a lot of work this year.
As usual.
Yeah. Montreal.
Montreal.
What can I say about Montreal?
Fuck the Habs.
Aside from that, because that goes without saying. They've signed PK Subban. Subban's happy to stay there. He's going to do well for them. They've got Carey Price. He can stay healthy. He's going to take them places. I think of the Canadian teams, they have the best chance of making the playoffs, to be quite honest.
They're the only Canadian
team. They're not going to be a top team in the league, but they're not going to be better than middle of the pack. I think they're going to make the playoffs fairly easily.
All right, Tampa.
Tampa is getting a lot more hyped up than they deserve. I still think they're a decent team.
Those are
if
fighting
stays
words.
healthy, they'll make the playoffs. I just don't think they're as good as everyone claims they are.
The Maple Leafs.
Randy Carlyle is still there. Randy Carlyle is still there.
That's true.
Phil Kessel is going to drag them by between Phil Kessel and Reimer and Bernier. Those three are going to try and drag the team to wherever they can. But I mean, it's preseason. They're getting outshot ridiculously. It's same old, same old. Toronto is going to have a hard fight.
All right. Next, San Jose.
San Jose, I have no idea what's going on there. I mean, they're the team everyone loves to make fun of because, let's face it, they did pretty poorly in the playoffs.
You're going to have to give me a minute. Hold on. All right, I'm back. LA.
All right, so yeah, like I said, the Sharks. I don't know. They're gonna be something to watch as the season goes on.
So you don't think that they're gonna choke?
No, I think if they get to the playoffs, they're gonna have a hard time going anywhere. But if Vlasic can stay healthy, if Thornton can play really well, Marlowe's getting older. I don't know. Sharks are one of those that are they're an unknown.
All right, Vancouver.
Especially in the difficult to play in West.
Vancouver.
You
get 30 seconds, Hamzah.
What's that?
You get 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
Come on.
They haven't added much to their roster. Radim Verbata, Miller's also there. Can the Sedins come back to their form of their 2 years ago, 3 years ago? If they can, they're going to go somewhere. If not, they're going to die in that packed Western Conference.
All right, LA. Talk about the Kings, bud.
Reigning Stanley Cup champions. They're going to come out. They're going to come out tough. They've proven that they can play through the Stanley Cup hangover. I think they make the playoffs. I think they do some damage.
All right, Edmonton.
Edmonton is hopefully is not going to be as bad as they were last year, but we keep saying that every year. They've added a couple of defensive people. Are they going to do anything good? I hope they make the playoffs. I doubt it.
All right, Calgary.
Calgary is going to play for that second last spot between them and Florida. They're bad, but they've got some good prospects coming up. I think they're going to do a little bit better than last year. Still not good.
All right, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's an interesting one. They're in that Central Division. They're going to get killed. They're going to get slaughtered. I don't think they do anything useful with the talent they have, but they've also got Andrei Pavlik, who finds ways for them to lose all the time.
Looks like Hellebuck's going to be getting some time then.
I think it's just because of the fact they're in that Central Division. I don't think they make the playoffs.
That's reasonable. Nashville,
like I said earlier, they've got the defense. They just don't have the offense. James Neal's not going to add it. They don't have a bona fide number one center. Again, they're in that Central Division of death. I don't see them making the playoffs. Minnesota, we've seen issues in terms of team cohesion. There's going to be a goalie carousel through there. I don't think their defense is strong enough. I mean, they've got Suter, obviously, and he plays a metric ton of minutes. But I just don't think they're a strong enough team to survive that Central Division.
Really? Okay. Well, I thought that the speed was going to be enough, but Dallas.
I think Minnesota can make the playoffs.
Minnesota has speed, and as long as they keep the goaltending and defense up, they'll be fine.
I think they can make the playoffs. I just don't think they're going to go any further than that first or second round.
All right, fair enough. Dallas.
Dallas has added some great offensive weapons in the offseason, but their defense is still a little bit weak. Goaltending is okay. I think Dallas is going to create a huge amount of offense in the season. I still think they're not going to go very far in the playoffs just because they don't have that defensive core yet.
Okay, Colorado, the other speed demon.
Colorado, lots of speed, but they've added a couple of questionable characters in terms of talent, and their advanced stats last season were pretty bad. I see them regressing a little bit. I'm not sure that I think they'll make the first round of the playoffs, especially if Semyon Varlamov can play. But again, his stats were unreal last year, and their shooting percentage was really high. I don't see them doing that well this year.
All right, Chicago.
Chicago has an interesting dilemma just to start the season. They're over the cap about $2 million. They're gonna have to get under that by about $500,000 at very least. So they've got some decisions to make, and that's going to cost them some talent on the team. Chicago, though, is Chicago. They've got great defense. They've got great offense. Their goaltending's decent, relatively speaking. I think they make the playoffs. I think they make the second or third round. I don't think they go further than that.
All right, Carolina. I'm just moving through the divisions.
Yeah, Carolina is.
Minnesota sucks and you know it!
Carolina is one of those weird. Is in a weird position. They're bad, but how bad are they going to be? Are they going to be desperately bad, or are they going to be?
I think they'll be middle of the pack, but
I think if Eric Stahl can be better, if the goaltending can be better, I see them being a little bit better. Don't see them as a playoff team.
Yeah. All right, Columbus.
Columbus. They had a weird year last year. At best, I see them squeaking into the first round and losing, especially with that whole shenanigans with Ryan Johansson. I don't know.
All right.
They're
New
scrappy.
Jersey.
They're very scrappy, and I'll give them that. But I think they'll squeak into the first round of the playoffs.
I think they'll make it to the second round.
Second round, all right.
I didn't say they'd do anything in the second round, but I think they'll make it. The Devils.
Middle of the pack team. Don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Their goaltending needs to be really good. Their offense needs to be much better than last year. They're getting old. I don't know. I see the Devils, again, middle of the pack team with a chance to make the playoffs.
The Islanders.
Islanders have added a few people that are much better. They've got Grabovski, they've got Kulemin, they've got obviously Tavares, they've got a few other players on that roster. I think they can possibly squeak into the first round. And they added goaltending there too with Yaroslav Halak. They don't have that. They don't have Nabokov anymore, who is,
Nabokov. All right, the Rangers.
Rangers, they're going to have that hangover. I mean, they played hard, and they've got injuries all over the place. I forgot actually about Carolina. They got injured, but I think, Stepan was injured. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. I think they start off slow. I think they maybe squeak into the playoffs.
All right.
I think Rangers will get to the second round. That's about it.
Second round? I think they get, unless Washington makes the playoffs, and if Washington makes it, the Rangers are going to play them.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rangers make it past the first round unless they play the Capitals.
All right.
The Philadelphia Flyers.
So Claude Giroux was injured. Kimmo Timonen will be out for sure for at least the first half of the season.
Great.
I don't see them starting off well. I see them gaining some ground later on in the season. I see them pulling something from last year, to be quite honest. I think they'll do a similar thing to what they did last year. Start off really terribly, and then they pick up a little bit of steam throughout the season.
Fair enough. Pittsburgh. And the Pens.
As Crosby and Malkin go, so do the Pens. How bad is Fleury going to be? That's what we need to know. If he's going to be good in the regular season to make the playoffs, if he's going to be bad, and Crosby and Malkin get injured, they're going to just squeak in. But I think Pittsburgh are a lock for the first round for sure.
Okay.
At least
Washington.
In the East. Washington,
but Washington has a catch.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to win the Winter Classic, and then how do you think they're going to do in terms of playoff chances?
Well, they're playing Chicago in the Winter Classic, are they not?
Yep, they are.
Yep. They're going to lose the Winter Classic, in my opinion. No, just because, they signed those 2 contracts that everybody's looking at them and they're going like, what the hell are you thinking? Brooks Orpik, it's just a really long term for a really bad defenseman. You've got Ovechkin in what's arguably the last part of the prime of his career. You've got a great goaltender in Holtby. You've got Nicholas Backstrom, who's a great centerman. They just don't put everything together. They're going through another coach. I don't know. I don't see it in Washington. I don't.
All right. Can you guess the one team I haven't had you talk about yet?
You haven't had me talk about St. Louis.
I did. I believe I did. Did I not?
St. Louis was not one of them, and there was one other team.
Talk about St. Louis first.
Okay, St. Louis. Again, that Central Division of Death. But they've added a few players, and can they make somewhere? They're the St. Louis Blues. I think they will. They may have a goaltending issue because I'm not too sold on Brian Elliott, but their defensive core, even though they lost some of the defensive forwards to the KHL, I think they're going to do okay. I think they make the playoffs.
But will they do anything in the playoffs?
It depends who they meet up. If they don't see Chicago or LA.
I think they could do decent as long as they don't see either of those teams, but every year it's the goaltending that screws them.
Well, they play Chicago, Chicago is in their own right a very good team.
Yeah. All right. What is the one team I haven't had you talk about?
You haven't talked about Boston yet.
I have, actually. You said that they were a very good, hard team to play against.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the first team you mentioned.
The fucking Senators, Hamzah. Come on.
Well, I don't really want to talk about them, to be quite honest, because I have to insult my own team, and I don't like doing that.
Oh, you have to? What do you mean?
Well, no, because I have to be honest about the team.
Insult it.
Here's the thing. Ottawa Senators have gone through a time of upheaval. Let's be real here. Two captains lost in 2 years. Ales Hemsky does not sign back with Ottawa. They signed back some slightly mediocre players. David Legwand, Milan Michalek. Those are not improvements on Daniel Alfredson, Jason Spezza, and Ales Hemsky. They are not. Then you've got the contract issues with Mark Mathot, with Bobby Ryan. You've got issues there.
But I thought they were paying Bobby Ryan in Canadian Tire money.
Yeah, nobody actually does that. If anybody who actually pays anybody in Canadian Tire money gets a swift slap in their face. Nobody likes Canadian Tire money.
So what you're saying is the Ottawa Senators are in a rebuild process without the rebuild.
They're becoming very close to that, and I will lay the entirety of this problem against Melnyk, our terrible owner, Eugene Melnyk. But back to the team itself, Ottawa last year spent the majority of its time taking penalties and getting stuck in their own zone. When you have Erik Karlsson on your team, those are two things that should never, ever happen. Erik Karlsson is a one-man breakout machine for 20 minutes of a game, a full period. If you, the team as a whole, cannot for the rest of the game, 40 minutes, keep the puck out of your own zone, then you're wasting Erik Karlsson's talent. I think Ottawa's going to be a bit better than last year because they've got goaltend. There's no way their goaltending can be as bad as it was last year, but they're also going to get less lucky with the injuries. Last year they had almost none. This year they're going to have more. Can they be better than last year? I think so. They're going to have to play the game as a team. There's not going to be many talented players on it. You've got Bobby Ryan. Yes, he's a great scorer. You've got Erik Karlsson, of course, in my opinion, the best defenseman in the league right now, and certainly the best offensive defenseman in the league right now. You've got Craig Anderson, Robin Leonard, who cannot possibly be as bad as they were last year. So I think Ottawa does better. I don't think I'm struggling to see them make the playoffs. They might squeak into that last wild card spot, but that's tough.
Okay, well, I guess this is our last chance to check Twitter, and nothing interesting. Nothing relevantly interesting.
All right.
Like, we have tweets like the NHL sucks because there isn't enough African Americans in the game, but
that last comment, just to go on that, that's an interesting one. I'm starting I'm for those of you who don't know me, I'm Arab, so I'm fairly dark skinned, but actually Indo-Arab. So playing in Canada, playing hockey in Canada, especially now, you start to see that there are more black people coming into the game. So it's a matter of time, I think.
I think that it's getting bigger and bigger, but we're gonna need. I mean, especially since because there's so many people, and the fact that there was the whole racist thing last playoffs with Boston and Montreal. It comes down to, will there be a controversy if there are more added? And I feel like we're going to run into that issue where certain teams' fan bases are going to just come out and be completely racist about it, and I feel like it could either turn out really well or really bad.
And I think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to notice that eventually. It's going to take time, but I think it's going to come through eventually.
I can hear my entire floor laughing from down the hall.
So we've just run through actually quite a few topics.
Injuries.
I think it's almost time for us to end the podcast here.
In about an hour. We could end it here.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give a quick recap of what we've done so far. I mean, we've given a couple of rundowns of the teams. We've talked about the injuries.
We've harassed me multiple times. We've
harassed John quite a bit. We've had quite a few topics. So, any last comments before we get ready to sign off there, John?
Yeah, I think I'm going to hang out in my room for the rest of the night because I'm too afraid to go back out in the hall. Other than that, I got nothing. So,
alrighty.
I guess.
Okay, so.
Next week,
yes.
Tune in for more harassment of me and hopefully a third member.
Hopefully a third member. We'll see what we can do. Again, if you guys have if you got anything you want to talk to us about, if any comments, questions, anything like that, tweet at us at OurHockeyCast.
No one's going to be on the account tonight. So.
Nobody's going to be on the account tonight, but we will have, or actually I will be on the account for most of the time. I'll be able to tweet for those. OurHockeyCast.com for our website. You can find John at Johnny_Mulcahey on Twitter, at myself at LaFonH on Twitter. All right, we'll see you around.